I recently just got married in November 2023, and right now I'm on a trip to Italy. Just Italy alone, not the whole of Europe. And I just want to share about my reflections on spending on a wedding, because you should know that Honey Money SG is still a money and finance focused channel. So I won't have any relationship advice for you. But I do have some suggestions and opinions about spending on a wedding. You see, spending money on a wedding, especially for Chinese, is more like a very commercialized thing. And we all know that. You see, a marriage is a legal union between two people. But sometimes it includes so much more people that it's a union of two families. And you have to put into the opinions and the suggestions of the elders. And even though you think some traditions and customaries are not required, you still need to spend on them because you need to respect the elderly. And I think that some of this spending can definitely be justified, even though many people say that for a wedding, you just need to spend $42 on ROM. But if you have further questions on planning your wedding, then why not join us at over 13,000 members at the Honey Money SG Telegram group. So you see, the wedding usually starts from the idea of proposal, right? Then after the proposal, there is wedding planning. And then after the wedding planning, there's the actual date, which summarizes the 3 steps of the wedding process. So for proposal, usually for Singaporean guys, we tend to go with diamond rings. In the past, we used to go with a lot of natural diamonds, all those GIA certified things. I think now more and more people are into this ESG stuff, and so they rather go for those man-made diamonds, we call that. I think the name is called moissanite or something, and it's at the fraction of the cost of a natural diamond. It does not have any flaws since it is man-made, and you can get a much bigger size compared to a natural diamond. And for a lot of ladies, I think the thing that matters more is the size rather than the color, the clarity, and the whatever. But if you really want to get a diamond ring, I would suggest go for a lab-grown diamond if your partner is okay with that, because you can get a much bigger size and at the less flaws. Then regarding the proposal, I felt that it depends on how big the scale you want it to be. Some people prefer very intimate settings where it's just two people, in a hotel room, at a restaurant, or at the beach, just two people alone, that's fine. Some people expect it to be more extravagant, like they want to have their friends, their families along, and then everyone coming from this big occasion kind of thing, like a D&D event. So you really have to check with your partner what kind of proposal does she prefer. But the thing is that once you check the partner, then the surprise element kind of go away. And you see, the thing is that many people in Singapore, they try to use BTO as a proposal idea, because do you want to BTO with me? Like, there's an intention to get married, because you have to register your marriage before you could collect your keys to your BTO unit, which is a Singapore public housing flat. So that has kind of changed the wedding game quite a bit in Singapore, although I felt that it's a little bit unromantic, but I felt that it is practical, though I didn't go by this route. I proposed first before I applied for the BTO successfully. And you see, that is just the first part of the process, because the second part is going to be much more tedious, which is your wedding planning. How are you going to do it? How grand is it? How many people are we talking about? What is the location, and who to invite or who not to invite? That itself is an art. And I think I'll leave this at my next destination, because right now I'm in Positano. We have very nice mountains. We have very nice seas. We have very nice small little houses. But the thing is that the weather is a little bit cloudy, so we couldn't see much of the clear waters right behind us. As well as now it's winter season, so it's really low. So I'll go on to my next destination, that I continue talking. Now, I do want to talk a bit about the wedding Ang Bao culture. You see, this is not just a Singapore thing, but you realize that when we attend Chinese weddings in Singapore, we need to give red packet or Ang Bao, to at least cover for the 1 pax fee. And I felt that that is a very kind of contradictory culture. Like, if you're in a birthday party and you invite people to your party, do you expect people to give you money? And the thing is that people may be in very difficult financial situations, but they are afraid or too embarrassed to turn down your wedding invitation. So I felt that when I was holding my wedding, I don't expect my guests to fully cover my wedding. In fact, I felt that the best honor that you can bring is yourself, because you have given your time to me to help me celebrate my joyous occasion. I should not expect a very large Ang Bao from you. The Singapore GST just hiked 1% in 2024, and times are tougher now. But Moomoo SG is doing 1% more with idle cash, because you can get 6.8% per annum with the new Moomoo Cash Plus promotion for 31 days. At a max subscription of $60,000, you will be getting a total return of $340. What's more, Moomoo SG now has the Fullerton SGD Liquidity Fund, which provides higher flexibility with same-day subscription and redemption for more opportunities. That's not all. You can get up to 4 stock bundles of the top 5 traded US stocks worth $70 each and 1 Apple stock worth $260. And if you sign up with my exclusive link, you can get 1 additional $20 cash coupon. Total rewards value of 900 Singapore dollars. Of course, holding period and buy trade applies. Please note that Moomoo Cash Plus is an investment product. It is not comparable and is different from savings deposits. Principal is not guaranteed and up to 31 days, 6.8% per annum is guaranteed only during the promotional period. Investment in capital market products involves risk and the risk of losing principal. For more details, please refer to the promotional page in the description below. So don't miss this deal and use my referral link down below or scan the QR code right here to get your Moomoo Actually Universal account today. And you look at some of these weddings held by your friends or relatives in 5 or 6 star hotels, very expensive per pax, like more than 250 per person. And you look at their own financial situation, do you even think they could afford it? It is usually the parents who want it because of their face. And I can say that unless your parents is already sponsoring their wedding, otherwise, it's going to burn quite a huge hole in your pocket. For context, I did pay for the wedding myself, no parents support at all. And the thing is that the hotel venue wasn't at such a high, grand, expensive restaurant. In fact, I only had 8 tables, so 80 packs. And I only invited my very close friends and relatives who I really want them to be there. So it's not like a 20, 30 table kind of affair where you invite people where you don't even know who are they. You can't even recognize them on the street. So it was a very intimate wedding for myself. And the good thing was that I had a lot more time to interact with my guests, going from table to table, thank them for attending a wedding, and also interact with them. Had such a great time, even though it was not a large-scale wedding. And I don't want it to be a large-scale wedding because it felt like very corporate D&D kind of thing. But I understand that every family may be different, and sometimes you have to respect your elder decisions. So yeah, here is my take on the wedding. You shouldn't expect your guests to fully sponsor your wedding because everyone has their own personal financial situation. So if you were to ask me whether is it expensive to get married in Singapore, I would say largely yes. But are there cheaper alternatives to reduce the cost of a wedding or a marriage? That is yes as well. Because if you look at the legally binding marriage certificate, you only need to pay $42 to registry of marriage ROM. But all the other customs and traditions will cost you money. For example, let's start with the wedding banquet, which for a traditional Chinese wedding is probably the largest ticket item. And you see, each table will cost at least $1,500 in a hotel. And some people choose to do it outside the hotel. But I could tell you honestly that with all the things that hotel is including, like the rooms, the convenience, and the transportation and logistics, I would say if you do it elsewhere outside the hotel, you add up all these logistics costs, it's going to be as close to the hotel cost altogether. So if you factor in the convenience, maybe it's just better to hold it in the hotel itself. And note that I'm not sponsored by a hotel to say this, but the fact is that many people do hold their wedding banquet in a hotel, whether for lunch or dinner. And you see, the cost of lunch is usually cheaper than dinner because usually lunch people don't drink that much alcohol and people do drink more alcohol during dinner because they're more relaxed and they may not be driving. So if you were to do a wedding lunch, I think that would be cheaper on the budget. Then if you were to look at other wedding costs, that would be your pre-wedding shoot, which costs like 3 to 4K at least in Singapore. But are there cheaper alternatives? Yes. I think if you go across the border in Malaysia, it will cost around 5,000 to 6,000 ringgit depending on your package. Some people choose to do overseas like in Europe or Taiwan, that's quite popular itself. So depending on how you want to do it, if you are bored of all the Singapore scenery and the environment, then maybe consider some overseas photoshoot. But if you were to engage an overseas wedding photoshoot, I think the gown rental will be a different one because it is very likely that you will need to rent a gown in Singapore as well. So I would say if you can go across the border to Malaysia, ask them if they are able to rent out their gowns for at least a week so you can bring it back to Singapore, and then I think the cost will be much cheaper as well. For example, my suit rental plus wedding gown rental came out to around 500 to 600 ringgit. So that is relatively affordable. I don't have to buy a new suit, I don't have to buy a new wedding gown for my wife, and it's just for one-time use. So it's good for the environment as well. And if you were to ask me whether the actual day wedding photography and videography is essential, I would say at least the photography is necessary because you want to capture those moments, and those moments can only last you one time. There is no second event that's going to happen again. And usually a professional wedding photographer will know how to ask you to pose and how to take those shots at the right time, and maybe cue the timing for when your guests should come and how to direct it. So it's sort of like a directing services as well. Videography, I feel that it's not so essential. It is really optional because as a YouTuber myself, I don't really fancy that wedding videography. Although I do know that some people, they treasure it, so each one to your own will. So it really depends on you and your spouse's family. How are you aligned on the expectations of holding the wedding? Is it going to be a simple one, or is it going to be an extravagant one? And I know that some simple weddings, even though they try to cut costs, in the end, they add up all these inconveniences of working with multiple vendors. It becomes quite a hassle. So yeah, all these things may cost you time and money in the end. But if you ask me whether I regretted holding a wedding or not, I would say I thoroughly enjoyed my wedding event because I felt that I brought everyone close to me to celebrate this joyous occasion. And it's not a large-scale wedding, so yeah, I really enjoyed myself more than I thought I would actually. So yeah, it's quite a joyful event to celebrate with everyone. So yeah, really, if you want to save some cost on holding a wedding, I think you should start looking at credit card strategies at least 1 year ahead. Because I did publish a video on what are the best credit cards to spend for a wedding, and usually they are associated with hotel and travel expenses, which you should check it out right here.